Was Muhammad bin Tughluq a genius who was centuries ahead of his time, or a ruler whose ideas were simply too ambitious? His reign remains one of the most debated in Indian history. Today, we uncover exactly why. On February 1st, 1325, a wooden pavilion collapsed during a victory celebration, instantly killing the first Tughluq Sultan, Ghiyath al-Din. Whispers of a conspiracy immediately filled the court, but within 3 days, his eldest son, Muhammad, was crowned the new ruler of Delhi. The nobles accepted him without protest, eager to see how this highly educated prince would govern. Muhammad was not a typical medieval warlord who only understood the sword. He spent his youth studying logic, Greek philosophy, medicine, and astronomy. He wanted to apply this vast scientific knowledge to build a perfectly organized state. But this brilliant, restless mind was about to clash with the realities of his deeply traditional empire. Muhammad believed that a centralized state required absolute loyalty to the crown over ancestral clans. To achieve this, he systematically stripped the old Turkish military families of their inherited court privileges. In their place, the Sultan promoted capable outsiders, including native-born Indians, foreign scholars, and administrators of modest origins, elevating men who owed their careers entirely to him. He transformed the royal court from a playground of tribal factions into a lively center for philosophical debate, surrounding himself with logical thinkers, physicians, and astronomers. Under this new meritocracy, the crown exercised direct control over tax collections and provincial appointments. Yet, by bypassing the traditional aristocracy, Muhammad sowed deep resentment among the older elites. For these displaced Turkish lords, the Sultan's reforms were a direct threat to their survival, creating a silent friction at court that soon forced Muhammad to seek an even more radical path to secure his reign. In 1327, Muhammad made his most radical move to secure the empire. He decided to relocate the imperial capital from Delhi to the southern fortress of Devagiri, which he renamed Dowlatabad. Located nearly 1,000 kilometers south, Dowlatabad sat at the geographic midpoint of the subcontinent. The Sultan believed this new base would allow him to govern both the north and the newly conquered Deccan region under a single, unified administration. But instead of simply moving his court, Muhammad ordered the entire population of Delhi, from high officials to poor laborers, to pack their belongings and march south. Tens of thousands of people began a grueling march along the Grand Trunk Road. Without adequate food, water, or shelters, the trek quickly turned disastrous. Heat, disease, and broken supply lines took a heavy toll, leaving thousands of bodies along the route. Local resistance and administrative chaos made the new capital unsustainable. By the time the Sultan allowed the survivors to return to Delhi, the treasury was drained, and the trust between the crown and the people was shattered. While the court returned to the north, many who had marched south chose to stay. Among them were Sufis, practitioners of a mystical and devotional form of Islam. These mystics belonged to the Chishti order, a group famous for its devotion to charity, music, and sacred shrines. Leading figures like Burhan al-Din Gharib and Muhammad Gisudaraz remained in the Deccan, establishing khanqahs, spiritual hospices that served as centers for teaching, hospitality, and community life. These lodges offered free meals and shelter to travelers and locals alike. In a strange twist of history, the Sultan's failed political migration achieved what his armies could not. It permanently rooted Islamic culture in the south, weaving a durable social fabric that outlasted his collapsing empire. In the 1330s, natural disaster met fiscal pressure. A severe famine struck the fertile Doab region just as the Sultan raised land taxes to fund his massive army. Unable to pay, starving peasants abandoned their fields, sparking violent uprisings. This economic collapse shattered Delhi's control over distant provinces. In 1338, Bengal declared independence. By the mid-1340s, rebellions erupted in Gujarat and Madurai as local leaders realized Delhi was too weak to reach them. Then, in 1347, a military commander founded the independent Bahmani Sultanate in the Deccan, permanently tearing the southern territories away from Tughlaq control. Following the Sultan's death in 1351, his cousin Firuz Shah Tughlaq ascended the throne, determined to calm the fractured empire. To win back the angry aristocracy, he restored traditional noble privileges and returned tax-free land grants, known as iktas. Instead of sending revenue to Delhi, local elites kept the wealth for themselves, buying immediate loyalty at the cost of the central treasury. Firuz Shah also enforced stricter religious laws to impose moral order. Court writer Zia al-Din Barani praised these moves, though modern historians view his writings as a highly partisan defense of aristocratic power. The Delhi Sultanate had survived Muhammad bin Tughluq's bold experiments, but the decisions made afterward would slowly weaken the empire from within, paving the way for Timur's invasion and the eventual collapse of Delhi's dominance. By converting these land grants into hereditary properties, Firuz Shah surrendered the crown's direct financial control over the provinces. Local lords kept the tax revenues to build private fortunes and recruit local armies, leaving the central treasury in Delhi empty. While this appeased the nobility and bought temporary peace, it stripped future sultans of the wealth needed to defend the state. When the conqueror Timur marched toward Delhi in 1398, he faced no unified imperial army, only a fractured coalition of independent warlords.